All right, we're live. Welcome everyone to Table Talk, where we talk all things tabletop. I'm your host, the Bedluck Gamer, with my co-host, finally, for the first time in like several weeks, Blue Boy.
Hello, I'm finally here. I am not out of town or helping a cat recover from surgery.
And not sick, which you were like the prior two sessions before
Oh
that.
my god. Yeah, it is so nice to be able to speak, to emote, to like use my voice. It's fantastic. It is such a nice feeling, and now I get to talk about all these things, all the opinions I've had. The public couldn't know. Unless you're in our Discord. Join the Discord.
True. The Discord's been kind of popping off lately.
It's been a lot of chatting and a lot of people talking about rule bits, and I'm reading it and I'm like, what the fuck are they talking about? And then I look away. Which has been, whenever it's like a specific, like, this spell discourse, I'm like, it's been working for me pretty well.
Yeah, well, there's also just a problem of just different expectations for how a game should be run, which is
Everyone's got their different style.
We're gonna talk about today. But yeah, so if you're checking up on this VOD after the fact, just know we tend to start talking about the topics somewhere like after 15 minutes, 30 minutes at most. So have fun scrubbing through the VOD, I suppose. But before we get to chatting about everything and letting everyone kind of hop in, how you doing, Alex? It's been a while.
It has been a hot minute, and it has been a long, just fucking time until I can go back to normal life. And yeah. I'm here now. I can do things. I'm working on two separate projects. One that I'm planning to be a new kind of like regular thing, and then another thing that is a planned like a larger piece of content like the anima video. I've kept my promise. That I say them on Table Talk because having it be public in this kind of way forces me to, like, in my head, I've made the obligation to do it. There will be a video on Lancer. I gotta finish the script and then just kind of time it to have like the proper timing. Little tough because recording it then editing it. Thanksgiving's coming up. I'm going back to Thanksgiving for a few days.
Yeah, it's that time of year, you know, things are just going to be disrupted in general.
Yeah, all the holidays. And then the other bit, I am more than likely going to toss in the relatively regular World of Darkness lore. I literally, an hour or hour or two ago, finished the script for a overview, like a primer for Vampire the Masquerade lore. Where I also go over all the 13 clans and like the history of vampirism. Good chunk of stuff. Like probably like a 25-minute-ish video, like that relative lens. Not anything too crazy, because I want to like cover specific topics. But like the more and more I look over VTM, Mage the Ascension, Werewolf the Apocalypse, like all that, I'm like, these settings kind of rule. I like these a lot. So yeah, I'm gonna talk about vampires, and I put out a tiny little like teaser thing for my audience, and it's been hit with just a lot of people being like, hell yeah, which I should have expected, because the most popular 40k series then turned into a World of Darkness series. So a lot of people got into World of Darkness through Alpha Busa and the TTS crew.
True, yeah.
I should have expected. I did not put those together because I didn't get into like vampire and stuff through them. When I found out they were doing World of Darkness, I was like, oh, it's that thing. I like that world, because I've only played Bloodlines at that point. But also a lot of me looking at your workload and being like, damn, man, that's fucking rough.
Yeah, I've been very
As I'm
busy.
on vacation.
Also, hi Dead Phoenix, hi Gwei, how you doing? Yeah, I've been very busy.
Seems like it.
I've been driven a little nutty from it because, my gosh. The worst part is, just yesterday, Critical Role like officially released Candela Obscura rule
Oh
book.
shit.
So we ordered it. We had to order a physical copy of the book because you can't order the PDF. You can't buy the PDFs individually. So I'm gonna be doing a review on the PDF here soon. I have some other stuff. I have some more remaster stuff that I'm putting out just because right now, especially, neither Path Builder nor Archive and Nethys is gonna have the like current rules for the remaster right away.
Makes sense. Like Path Builder was gonna have it within like a week, which I gotta say, good turnaround time. I hope they can do that.
Well, they've had it
Path Builder
before.
Fair.
Yeah, same with Archive and Nethys. It's just a lot of data input, and they probably didn't have a ton of time. Probably about the time I got it was when they got it. So
it's a lot of that, and then also having to go through and be like, make sure everything's accurate. Oh no, I hope this didn't happen, but what if some poor fucking guy working on the Archive and Nethys site, he's like, finally, I've done a good chunk of this work. Day one errata. What? No one told me about this.
yeah,
Has to go through and fix all of that too.
but yeah, so I've been so busy, but I did literally what I said I would do, right? I put out more content than anyone else on the remaster.
That you definitely did.
It wasn't even close. Like double the closest competition at least. And obviously, like, I'm not unhappy about it, right? The channel grew a crazy amount. We got like 500 subs in 2 weeks or something like that. Like a pretty nutty amount. I mean, in the last month, the last 28 days, we've gained 649 subs.
That is nuts.
And the channel has been getting tons of views. I actually made a decent amount of AdSense, right? Like, for a channel my size, anyway. I'm getting 150 this month, and I'm getting like 200. I'm probably gonna get actually like 300 next month.
Hell
For
yeah.
my earnings, which is not a lot in a general like job perspective, but it's a lot when you think of it just making it on YouTube, right? Like just doing this.
Yeah, that's like the highest YouTube payout that I assume you've gotten at this point. 'Cause,
Yes.
like the highest I've gotten is like 140 total.
Yeah. I mean, I've gotten some payouts that were like 180 before, but that was mostly because it was just 2 months combined together.
Yeah, that's same here. Never one pop-off month. It's always like I barely met the threshold, didn't meet it, and then I just overshot it the next month.
Yeah. So, it's been a journey. The channel's gotten a lot more people. We've gotten some new regulars in the Discord. We've gotten some new regulars here. Last Table Talk, we had like 30 people watching, which is
Hell yeah.
pretty good, Between you two, like I have to caveat this because people don't seem to understand. We do stream on both YouTube and Twitch. So when someone looks at the number on YouTube and like, that doesn't say the number you just said, because the other part is on Twitch. And yeah, so like I've been working my butt off. I actually was working today. I didn't get a video out today, sadly, because I stayed up too late last night. But I've been working on the focus, the domain spells, which I'm realizing now more than ever. I'm just reading the whole book. I'm just reading the whole book and just presenting it to everyone. Like,
Yeah, you're making an audiobook of the
Pretty
remastered
much.
core book.
I've read all the spells in the book, and I'm just about to read all the focus spells.
Now if you want the real kicker. Wait like a week or two once all like the remaster work is done, and then put out supercuts.
Yeah, right.
All the cuts of like just one video for all the spells, one video for all the classes, like that kind of deal.
Yeah, it's and to be fair, like also these videos have done the best the channel has ever seen for the short amount of time that the content has been out, like getting thousands of views, a couple thousand views even for some of the views in a 24-hour period. One of the videos is currently shooting up to be one of my most viewed videos on the channel ever.
Oh, yeah, the Witch one?
Remaster.
It's fucking popped off.
Yeah, it's probably gonna bypass Why Monks Are Awesome here soon. And we'll see if it passes the class tier list, which I'll be doing another class tier list video after the, I think, War of Immortals stuff, which is like next fall. So
yeah, hopefully. Oh, good, next fall, not April, because we still gotta do our April Fool's video swap idea.
we do, yeah.
Or I desperately want to make my class tier list on your channel so bad. I want your audience, like the people that yell in your comments, to yell at me, because I think it'd be very funny if they rage about like my I guess controversial opinion to put a Witch in B- tier because the spot was empty. Or the fact that Druid is F tier because nature magic is cringe.
Yeah, it's okay. I don't know what I'm gonna do for your channel, honestly. It'll be something. I might do my own class tier list and just not do any research.
It's a good take. It's a good take, James.
Maybe I'll watch up on YouTube and Twitch to throw your numbers up. Oh no! What am I going to do?
I have them both open, but I mean, I have to mod stuff.
Yeah, you are a mod.
Yeah,
so.
it's a very basic set of like my big three of classes that are awful in Pathfinder. Druids, because nature magic, ew. Champion, because they're not like 5e paladin. And Alchemist, because I don't know how they play. And it looks hard.
It'll be great.
Worst classes in the game.
I'm sure the comments will be very nice to you.
I cannot wait. I think it'll be very funny.
James is already getting ready.
I don't. Why would I use my reaction? I want to play the game. I don't want to wait for another person to activate my character.
Oh gosh, it's gonna be great. But yeah, this has been the busiest I've been, and then it's just like, hey, you know, Candula Obscura came out, and it's just like, I guess I have to, because it's Critical Role and tabletop, and like, this is a tabletop channel, despite all the Pathfinder content coming out. This is a tabletop channel, and hey, Eric, no, you did not miss it. We wait a little bit before we get started, but we got a bunch of people jumping in the chat here, so we're probably gonna start talking soon about it. So you're just in time.
Yeah.
But
yeah, actually, oh my fuck, 20 minutes passed? What the hell? How?
Yeah, right? Crazy. But yeah, so it's like, this is a tabletop channel. Like, I can't wait to start making Lancer content again. I've been missing making Lancer content, actually. So next week,
it's very good. And also, like, I do very obviously when I make that Lancer video, maybe you'll get a little influx, because an important thing I'm saying is, like, if you just want a guide on every single mech, here's the channel. Just go here, because it's like, I don't think anyone else is doing that on YouTube.
There's been a few channels doing content on it, but
I know there's the guy who uses TTS voice, but I can't stand robot
yeah,
voice.
Dragon Kid's okay.
His writing is very good.
Brought it up, but obviously my content is what people have been looking for, so
yeah,
I'll be glad to bring it back.
I'll say, in the off chance, I think Dragon Kid is fucking hysterical. Like, his actual scripting of his videos is very funny. I just personally cannot listen to robot voice. I have
Yeah.
been like the more and more as time gone on and AI stuff and TTS stuff's been getting stronger. It's really hard for me to listen to it. I was really upset when I found oh fuck, really long videos for like Vampire the Masquerade lore. Let me listen to these. And then it's AI Joshua Graham reading it. I'm like, this is fucking awful. I hate it. I can't stand. I want to hear a person speak to me.
Yeah. This is a very common criticism, and Grandkid has gone on Twitter to say they're not interested in having their voice on the internet because they don't want it clipped for AI purposes. So,
that is so fair. That is a very fair boundary to have with the internet. I respect it, but yeah, that's always my issue of like, this is so funny, but I don't like robot voice.
So yeah, it's nice. AIs are people too. Oh god, that conversation that's been going on too.
They ain't people yet. I ain't gonna be respectful of AI stuff. I'm gonna be the first on the front lines against AI making art. I don't like it.
But all right, people are here. Let's chat about the remaster and whether it was worth it or not. So let me get out my bias first, right? The remaster and covering the remaster is the best this channel has ever done. Just plain and simple. We gained a record amount of growth. We gained a record amount of general views like in a day and in a week. Haven't got a record amount of like overall like more than any other video on the channel yet. That might still actually happen. But this has been a very successful time for the channel, and it's mostly been, yeah, thanks James. It's the hard work, you know. I put in a lot of time and effort, and like, even though Nonats and Ronald, you know, Rogan and Ronald, I should, if I'm gonna use one name, I'll use them both, get like 3 times my views or whatever. If we stack up all the views I got from all my videos, it's competitive. It's still a 3rd place, but like a strong 3rd place. And so, it was worth it for the channel, right, Rylan? It's been good. Now, let's talk about what it's done to the community, right? Yeah, unfortunately YouTube is all about the grind. It's really true, honestly. But this has also been good practice for me because I do plan on just releasing 5 videos a week anyway. And I've now lived through the process. I'm going to be taking my weekend for the first time, you know, this weekend though. But
Good.
I will be doing 5 videos a week regularly moving forward. And to be fair, all these videos take way more time than my normal videos to produce. So
yeah, that's the worst part. They had that little rule: if you can't just read from the book, makes it a lot harder to actually edit all of it.
But let's talk about the community, and let's talk about what the remaster has done, because all in all, when you break it down to what the remaster is like designed around, and if it and by the way, I'm looking at my audio levels here. If the music's too loud or my voice is too quiet, let me know. I had to adjust my audio recently because my headset stopped working one day for some reason. So let me know. But music is a little loud. Okay. It's very quiet to me.
Yeah,
it's also
a little
insanely hard to adjust the music to be quieter. I don't know why it like this processes it so high, because I can't even hear the music right now.
That's a good level for it.
Yeah, I can't even hear it right now. That's really weird.
It's strange.
Yeah. Granted, I have all my volumes turned down, like in general.
My audio is always really weird because my sound bar, like my Bluetooth, its base level for like being too loud is the 2nd notch. It has like 8 more above that. I have to have everything really tuned down.
But in general, like the remaster is just an errata. It's a huge errata with some fundamental changes. It's like, first of all, removal of alignments. Well, the idea of alignment, I think, is easy enough to, like, leave it or take it. The fact that it was implemented as a mechanic in the game was pretty substantial as far as some of the changes concerned.
I'm a big supporter of the alignment go away like camp. I completely agree. But for Pathfinder, it is a harder adjustment since there is, good and evil damage. That's a thing. So it makes sense too. And then the other reason where it's like, man, if you're gonna implement this now, you should probably do champion stuff like now, right?
Yeah, and there's a variety of reasons why champion, I think, got pushed off. I think they're also just kind of observing the space, and they want to see if they can alter, because the thing is, like, the remaster also did amazing work when it came to some of the classes. For instance, Witch now feels amazing. The Witch feels like a unique caster who has a interesting mechanic that you can play with, and it doesn't feel like like a wizard subclass almost, because, like, if you had the familiar attunement wizard, your familiar was essentially as powerful, and the only thing that the Witch did differently was it was like a wizard, only it had other tradition magic it could cast.
Yeah, it was always like Witch felt wizard adjacent to the point where it's like I could just make a really fun flavored wizard, or like Witch ideally, like in its concept, is very cool. In practice, it didn't really come across the same.
Yeah, and so Witch feels good. War Priest feels really good right now. They added some really good feats to War Priest.
Oh, the stuff you were telling me. Oh my god. Like, the cleric stuff is my favorite out of every, like, remaster thing I've seen. Oh my god, the cleric changes are so cool.
Yeah. Bard even got some changes that I feel is going to make it feel generally more interesting. And, and then there's some other tweaks and such. Fighter barely changed at all. Rogue getting general, like, martial weapon proficiency is huge, though. It makes a lot of problems where, like, new weapons would be released, but Rogue might not have proficiency in it because it's not in the weapon list they have.
Yeah, it was a change where I was surprised, because, like, I also just haven't really played a Rogue where that came up, and when it was, like, first hopping, I was like, wait, they don't have, like, that proficiencies?
Yeah.
It's like, huh. I was surprised. It's a perfect fit. I like that methodology. I like the, hey, we're going to go back and adjust this. Some of these classes definitely deserve these proficiencies to just have more things to do. I like that. Just generally, like, uplift more things than you nerf. That's more my opinion of balancing.
And depending on your views on Wizards, there's a lot of people. Wizards very controversial right now, because on one hand they lost a number of spell options for their school slot, but maybe not, because it can be permitted that they can use other spells. And there's this, the thing is, right, is like, hardline, if you are just going by the book without any additional interpretation, Wizards lost a ton of options as far as their basic school slot is concerned. But in exchange, they got more flexibility in what that means. So now you can have more spells that are thematic that might run better with your character, The Battle Mage, I think, it makes perfect sense, because now they have a list of Invocation and Abjuration type spells, which is what you would do as a Battle Mage, right? Rather than only just having another attack spell, which honestly you probably just use for another slot of your attack spell,
True.
So, like, in the end, the intent is not that they made Wizards more limited, and they wanted to give Wizards more flexibility, which I completely understand. Whether that comes across to the community, though, is a different story. And actually, Rylan came up with a point earlier about not liking the removal of ability scores, but I disagree with. But that's the point I'm making, is that is that people can't agree on the changes. Whenever you change anything, right, people are going to polarize one way or another, you know, with a fair number just being rather neutral on it. And so some of the changes are something people are happy with, and some of the changes are things that people are unhappy with. And if if Paizo had kept going the same, kept like didn't make a big remaster change or whatever, there would be people who are like, I would prefer this change, but there would be less unhappy people who are upset at a change. You know, the number of upset people has increased with the remaster. And that's just because people don't like change, you know?
Yeah, it's the thing I largely notice in nerdy stuff is a real aversion to any form of change. Because it's the thing, I come at this as I'm a tabletop RPG casual. I'm not as, like, deep and serious about this as Cam. I've been playing for a long time, though. I come from this mainly from, like, a lore fan standpoint of a lot of games, or on playing war games. And the most I get is like Warhammer gets this pretty bad of a new thing introduced, new character introduced, and it's a lot of no, ew, we don't like this, or they accelerate the storyline, and it's like, yeah, well, in 5 years you're going to be talking about how much you adore this, because that's what happened all the time. How many people got so mad about the Necron remaster, like just remaking the Necron lore, and introduced everyone's now favorite character, Trazen the Infinite. How many people were like, ugh, new stuff, it'll never catch on. Like, it kind of is a lot like that. And me watching from the sidelines of the remaster, and kind of just, I'm usually pretty down for tabletop change. I see it as a necessity of this industry. A lot of it has been me being like, what do you mean you're upset about that? Nothing fundamental has changed. Like, when I was reading people be upset about Wizards changes, I'm reading through it, and I'm remembering our conversations about it, me going through, like, the information about Wizard, since I'm playing one actively, when we do Riptide again, was a lot of, oh, so nothing substantial. I'm still playing my Wizard. Cool.
Yeah, your character was relatively untouched.
I don't have to worry, and I don't know. It's all the people who are also like, oh man, these spells being like nerfed, or oh, these cantrips being nerfed is gonna destroy my damage, and I'm like, coward, cast these AoEs. What are you talking about? Yeah. And the bit that always kills me is when I see Wizard is such a bad damage class. They don't do good damage, and then cut to all of our Riptide VODs at the end of you saying, and most damage goes to William.
Right. Yeah.
Just play smart. I don't know.
Well, it's not even that, right? It's theory versus practice, and it's also just design, like levels of design, because there's a lot of GMs out there that do white room style combat. White room style combat, if you're unfamiliar with the term, is a room that has a certain dimension that has no like tactical advantages or disadvantage. It's just a box. It's just a map that you play on, an open field, as it were. And thus, those damage calculations make more sense. But when you have dynamic combat, when you have combat that isn't consistently on the, like, the dangerous one, I can't remember at the moment the type of encounter, the dangerous one or whatever, you're going to run into, yeah, some people are like, oh yeah, the damage is bad, but then when it's like, oh, but okay, what if I just give you a bunch more enemies but they're all weaker? Well, the fighter's damage potential shrinks massively compared to the wizard, who could destroy half the battlefield in a single spell because all the enemies are weaker.
And then it's designing your character around different aspects. It's the people who are probably from White Room combat like sessions who talk about everything of the only part that matters is your damage output, when it's like you could also, put it forward and help somebody else damage output increase, or debuff an enemy to reduce their damage output. There's a lot of different things you could do.
And so, yeah, it's like what Dead Phoenix is saying here, where, like, most people are complaining about a 1.5 damage difference in cantrips. And everyone is just like
nothing.
It's like, and that's only the average damage. In fact, many of the cantrips actually got an increase in damage cap for early level play. So, like, they have a little bit more of a low, but they also have a potential higher high. And so it's something along the lines of, it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter. There's a lot of people who are just like, I'm sure that I could think of some other things where like something was made or something was engineered to give people benefits, but people were too dumb to figure out how it worked, and so it became more of an inconvenience to make said object worth. I'm sure that people could pull up some examples if they really tried. And that's just kind of, it's like Alchemist, right? Everyone was just like, Alchemist is bad. And it's just like, no, Alchemist just has a really high skill cap. And you need to understand how items in the game work, because Alchemist is actually really insane. And
yeah, I might hate Alchemist, but it's out of a self-awareness that I am too dumb to know what's going on. But objectively, they are fucking scary. They are terrifying if someone playing an Alchemist knows what they're doing. It's spooky.
it is. And then, and so it's like public perception, right? So what is the public perception? And despite the many Reddit threads, the many people who go onto social media to talk about the remaster, overall, it's positive. And Paizo has been seeing increases in numbers throughout the year. In fact, there's a big concern that a lot of people were saying people aren't going to buy any books until the new books come out because the remaster is coming. That's actually just not factually true as to what happens. People are still buying the books all through this period up until now, you know? And there sure might be more people incentivized now the remaster has come out, but still people are concerned that like, oh, well, now the game is only half done, right? And it's just, as I said in the last stream, it's just messy. It's just messy. Paizo, I'm sure, would prefer to get all of the stuff out if they could, like, right away.
Yeah, I firmly believe that, yeah, I'm in that same boat. If Paizo could, they would. So there's probably a very good reason, like logistical reason, why it is being separated like this. I'd prefer it all to be at once, because I also think that, like, they have the best of intentions, but these are going to be the weirdest set of, like, time for Pathfinder, just inherently, with half of your system kind of, like, reworked and half not, of a lot of discussions of, okay, this is going to be using Remaster, but this one isn't, you're not using these rules. Like, it's going to be a lot of that, but it's leading up to, I guess, a more complete game later. It's just these months are going to be a little weird.
Well, see, and James, the thing that you're wrong about that is that Paizo releases all the material free online. So people could have bought the books at their leisure while still having access to all the rules. And that's so this is a thing, right? Like, I understand that is a fair, like, that is a fair thing to say, especially with the limited edition sketch covers that obviously, you know, are limited. Like, that's fair, but and I mean, like, there can be an argument. You would have to look it over, but you also have to understand that hobby communities, like tabletop specifically, are not built upon the backs of people who can buy one book a month. They're very typically built on the back of someone who spends hundreds of dollars on products every month, doing a variety of things.
Yeah, the good old hobby whales of a large chunk of Warhammer stuff is very much funded by whales hopping different armies, because a big thing in a lot of competitive groups do is the moment a nerf comes in, like, that tanks the performance of something, they sell all their models secondhand and then, like, buy a fuck ton of, like, kits again. Like, that's always the move. So they funded a lot. Which also, I gotta say, This is something that's been hitting me with a lot of like, man, it is hard for me to like fully empathize with the opinion. Like I think it's a fair reason to feel like this. The stuff of the people getting upset with the day one errata happening and be like, oh, now my book, I have to go through all these changes. Where it's like that's a very fair reason to be like annoyed. There's a reason it happens. It's still people working at Paizo. I
Mm-hmm.
understand why they have to fix things because things fall through the cracks.
Yeah.
However, the amount of fucking erratas I've had to deal with playing competitive 40k of the tale of playing Custodes in ninth edition, where 90% of my Codex book content didn't work as written. I had the book because you have to bring it to competition, by the way. You have to reference actual physical printed media. And then I have a bunch of other mini things because oh yeah, they fixed the stratagem in this book. I know there's that same stratagem is fixed in this errata book, but don't worry, that one's not true. And so I have 4 different books or some bullshit going through all of the changes, and I'm like, yeah, all this works completely differently than what it's written. I have to do this patchwork fix job. So I have, very little like this isn't that big of a problem. They're fixing typos, they're fixing minor things, whatever. You could put a little like sticky note there and be like, this is what they meant. If it's really that big of a deal.
And most of the time, honestly, people who have the books just use things like Archive and FS anyway because you can just search the rule and it just takes less time. So, it's not a huge deal.
Yeah. The
Also,
only
thank
one
you to Sionaris. We didn't get a pop-up. I don't know what happened to the alarm. Why is my alert box not working? But thank you for the follow on Twitch. I appreciate it. I don't know why that didn't.
To be honest, the only errata change that I understand being upset about, I do agree with the they're being cowards for not making days better. Make them all hard.
Days sucks.
I agree. Days is so bad. It's so dog shit. Just do that. I don't know why they wouldn't. But like that was the only change where I'm like, damn. It's also the wounded thing. It was a lot of like, man, can't relate. I just don't die. I'm just too good at Pathfinder.
I mean, like, that's a whole nother thing, and that was a thing that was like they wanted to keep it as this part in particular. They wanted to keep it actually in the more lethal way, but then more towards the last moments, like towards the end of the production, they decided they actually wanted to change it. So everyone agreed to it, but apparently the person who put it in the book was not informed. But it was the idea to have the more dangerous one because that was the initial intent from the system anyway. But I guess they decided against it. And either way, if you play it either way, I think is generally fine. I can see the fun in both. So don't get upset when someone is happy that in-game their character's less likely to die. You're just playing on different difficulties, which is completely fine.
I mean, that's actually a really good point. Like, if someone is really upset about that change, just don't alter your book. It's still there. It's a variant rule now. Congrats, you just got a free variant rule. Good job, I guess. It's like when I don't know. I guess that then is the same situation where I see when people get upset that like a bunch of lore stuff has changed, and then they're talking about it like, well, now I'm forced to rewrite my campaign. It's like, no, you're not. Do what you want. It's your game. You can do whatever the fuck you want. Have fun. Make your own shit.
Yeah, what James is saying here is very, very much a feel on many creatives, which is just don't release it if it's gonna have errors, whether it's a book or a game or whatever. And it's just like, that's impossible. The more hands you have in a pot in general, the harder it is to make sure that like everything is consistent and not like there's games, right? So like here's the thing, right? There's games that are frequently updated that still have bugs. Because sometimes fixing something often causes an error somewhere else. And that's just for coding, but for books, it can be something as simple as missing a singular word. And it's just it's such an outrageous ask.
And then another thing I assume that hits, which I mean, James, if I'm completely off mark, please correct me. I feel like a thing that can come up too, especially if you're like maybe even a smaller team, is you could publish something and you see a bunch of people getting like a rule wrong that you wrote. And the entire team is like, oh, I didn't even realize that was a problem because we all understood exactly what that meant. Like everyone gets locked into their head of working on this book, working on this product and editing it. And so they can't see the problem that a fresh pair of eyes will do. This is something I do in film. I've done this a lot, where you do a cut of a film, you're so happy with all this, you're like, okay, it's perfect. And you show it to another person, they immediately point, goes, why does it look like that? And you're like, fuck, you're so right, god damn it. It happens. So, okay, good. I'm glad I'm on the mark, because, like, that's just a problem. It's just people read things differently, and it's also just hard to edit in the perspective of a person with a fresh pair of eyes reading your work, because you're in the headspace of creating it. That's difficult.
Yeah. Also, hi, Matt Writings. Thanks for joining us. You're new from D&D, and you want to know what classes are in the player core. The classes in player core are the Bard, Druid, Fighter, Rogue, Ranger, Witch, Wizard, and I feel like I'm missing one. There's one more. Anyway, all the classes I made a remaster class video is what has been, that's out in the book. Oh, I missed Cleric. Cleric, yeah. So, Cleric. So, Bard, Cleric, Druid, Fighter, Rogue, or Ranger, Rogue, Witch, Wizard are out in the core, or player core 1, rather. People have already gotten to it, so yeah, it's it's so I mean, so this just kind of boils back to the point that I was saying earlier. Everyone disagrees on tabletop when it's just a consistent game. People were disagreeing on how things worked in Pathfinder before the remaster, but the remaster caused people to have more problems because it created more problems. And while it fixed some things and while it made some classes better, and this is true, and I think overall the remaster is good for Pathfinder, I think it's just disruptive. It's just messy. And that's just what we gotta live with. I think it was probably necessary it was done in this way. But I think in addition, you have to remember, like, these are some quality books that we get, okay? Like, the design is really good. It's very easy to find rules now, a lot easier than when the initial core rulebook was released. We have amazing art. I look at a lot of tabletop. The number of times I see the same art reprinted on page after page after page is nuts. And the fact that these books are so well designed, it's gotta take, you gotta let them cook, right? You gotta let them cook. And when you let them cook, they can also do some other really cool things as well. You can also let them do things like making Witch better. I'm super excited about Oracle, because Oracle is also a class that's getting a revision, which is going to be really cool. So
I hope Oracle gets really good in the aspect of I know there's a lot of times we directly had to say Oracle is a very cool class, but we wouldn't recommend it for your first time.
Yeah,
maybe
it's
that'll
just a class.
change.
It's just a class that is just like, you want to play with a handicap. It's not like, oh, you get a downside for a really good upside. It's like, nah, it's like, yeah, kinda in premise, but in actuality, it's more like you're just playing with more of the handicap than anything.
True. Also, I very much respect the Ermac reference. The history of Ermac does encapsulate like what we're talking about pretty well. Yeah, I don't know. It's the bit that always hits me, man. It's the part where I'm hearing a lot of like complaints about this, which also, by the way, should be noted. You did say it earlier. The vast majority of people, I think, are definitely in the camp of just general support for it. Like, oh, this is cool new stuff. Because the people who are out and very vocal about it, just statistically, are more likely to be people very upset or like really in love with it. That's why most reviews for things are 1 or 5 stars. That's just how it works. The effort to go make a review, you usually have to be very angry to want to do that. Most people I assume are just pretty solid with it. The bit that always confuses me is the people who are hitting like, I guess any change to stuff, be it like lore or I guess rule stuff like this. With you're running the game. You can just change it. You can just say no. It's not hard written. If they're doing this in a video game, I get it, but like you're god of your table, like in your rulings. You can just be like, here's a house rule.
Yeah.
Like it makes sense if you're like, hey guys, I know you really like this video game, but we're completely altering it and you cannot say anything about it. But then if you read like, I like the old wounded rules, okay, use that then. They're printed. Sure, there was like a miscommunication or something and it got printed. Now you have a free variant rule. Congrats.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't like a tabletop rule, just say no. Just talk to everyone at the table, see what you want to come up with, and be like, I don't like this thing. Maybe someone at the table really likes it. Have a conversation. Or just be like, I don't like this thing, I'm replacing it. Here's this thing. And most people at table will be like, cool. Sounds good, Mr. GM.
Yeah.
It's a lot of getting angry for reasons I don't think are worth getting angry over.
Oh, trust me. There was one comment I received rather recently. This is just the epitome of people taking anything said and just giving it the worst interpretation. Where is it? Here it is. Embed message having physical sensation effects seems doomed to become a remote sexual harassment spell in the hands of some toxic players. It's just like...
You invented a guy. What the fuck are you talking about?
It's like... Yeah, and dominate is so much better.
Yeah, theoretically, right. You could use so many things to do that. Like,
you could bomb an orphanage with a fireball. Like, of course you could do terrible things with spells. They're mostly not meant to do good things.
The right answer isn't Paizo, remove this thing. It's someone attempts to do that at your table. You tell them to get the fuck out of your table. What are you talking about? Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
that is aggravating.
And as everyone has seen by the chat flying up and down here, people have tons of ideas. And you know what? Most of them are pretty understandable. Most of them, like even Mr. Embed Message over here having a concern, right? The concern isn't from a complaining just to complain. I mean, it might be, but the thing is like, they have a concern that something is abusable and they just would like a safeguard. The problem is they're looking for that safeguard somewhere else. It's just a miscommunication on their behalf on like presenting it. You know what I mean? Most of the time, what these people want is just something that they're not easily communicating. The people who are upset about cantrip damage being a little bit less at the beginning of the game are upset because it feels like they're getting more pressure from the system, or it feels like they're getting nerfed when they already weren't feeling super good about the game. And so they're just expressing it by saying, I don't like this, you know what I mean? And it's okay that they cannot like it. It's okay that they prefer to have a higher, like, I understand that completely. It's tone deaf to the design of the game and how tabletop runs in general, but I can understand that feeling, that they are feeling this this unwarranted nerf, like they're being punished for no reason, you know? Like, we can yell at these people all the time, you don't understand the game, you don't understand the game, you don't understand the game. But it's not that they don't understand the game. You guys are just looking at the game from two different angles, you know? And it's something that I do my best to try to, like, be sympathetic towards. But it's at the same time, my level of understanding and my level of like compromise or willing to take a step back to view other people's viewpoints needs to be something that can be expected from other people as well. That's how community and society works in general. So it's more of just like, there's a lot of people who are complaining because it's their outlet and it feels good. But all this talk kind of amalgamates to people being people, so why be angry? Let's look at it from an actual perspective of like what has been changed in the game. people are upset about the damage from cantrips, right? Well, now more cantrips, one, have a higher damage potential, even though they have a lower damage average, and now do extra things. You know, many of the cantrip changes, even spell changes that got a nerf to damage, now do something in addition, which is kind of what spellcasters were designed to do. The removal of many attack spells that have the attack traits is because by game balance design, spell attacks are not a caster's strong suits. You know, it's just mathematically not designed for it to be at level for whatever they're doing. You know what I mean? Because they don't get the item bonuses to said things, you know, and that's intentional. That's by design. But we do have to acknowledge that spell attacks are essentially not as efficient as they are for many other things. Now,
yeah, there's some spell attacks that are nice, but a lot of times, as a wizard player, it is just more worth casting that save spell.
Yeah, and that's by design. That's on purpose. There are still attack spells in the game. There are still ways to utilize many attack spells in the game. Even before the remaster, attack spells were still generally okay because, again, as many people have also stated, there are many ways to make an enemy flat-footed / off guard now, right? So there's a lot easier ways to reduce an enemy's AC than save DCs.
I'll also say, like, a big reason my wizard, I have like 2 or 3 spells that I could point to that have attack rolls. Those spells are there in my list, not because, oh boy, I want to do these attacks. It's for, oh god, what if I come across an enemy that is a really low AC but goofy high saves? I want a method to still be able to do something. Like, it's planning ahead. I'm not using them because they're attacks. So like that's another change where I'm like, I don't see the reason to get upset.
Yeah, and this is also, again, it's that white room combat that people keep doing where they keep putting themselves in severe encounters and saying, look, my character's underperforming. And it's just like a severe, and this is also another thing that people don't understand. A severe encounter is not always necessarily fighting a stronger, higher level creature. You can have severe encounters with all enemies of lower level than your players. You can have horde encounters, you know.
Sometimes the environment itself makes it really hard to deal with the threat. I feel like that could count for a severe encounter as well. Maybe the enemy isn't like super tough, but they have such an environmental advantage on you that it becomes way harder.
So, you know, it's just people are, and that's tabletop in general, right? And the thing is, and this is why channels like mine are important. And when I'm able to do more stuff that I feel like can present things in a better way, I'd love to elevate the general community. Because the thing is, most of the time, when people are playing the game, they're playing with an inexperienced GM, someone who's relatively new, only been doing it for a few years, you know? And people also who are not as stuck and as brain rotted by tabletop as other people in the community.
Yeah.
You know, there's just casual people who just want to have a casual game. And so when they look at the book and they say, this monster looks difficult, I want to throw a difficult encounter, that's their version of difficulty. When we're brain rot. Yeah, we are brain rot because literally
100%.
It's all I can talk about. The only things I talk about nowadays, and I apologize for it all the time, is tabletop and YouTube. I talk about these things nonstop.
Everyone's got their different form. For me, it's if someone talks about like just out and about. If I hear like Warhammer lore, I'm set off. You know that moment not yesterday, on Tuesday, where Alicia was pretending to be me, and they were like, all right, name 18 Primarchs, and I was me, in my room being like, I could do that. Yeah. I know them by memory.
And Aragorn.
Aragorn is my favorite Primarch.
Matt Riding, sorry, I am paying attention to the comments, but it's a very serious subject. Hey, Matt Rock, thanks for the sub. So glad to have you with us. Matt Writing asked a question. It was answered by someone in the chat. But what's the easiest classes to pick up for new players? You're going to want to play a fighter first and foremost. They're the easiest class to play with the most straightforward mechanics that just don't take a lot to feel good in a general sense.
It's super easy. You just are good in combat. Congratulations. Just pick a fighting style that you think looks cool, and good job, bucko. You've done it.
If you want magic, I would actually recommend Bard pretty heavily, because Bard,
Oh, interesting.
just using their composition cantrip is super easy for the team. And like, whether like spells and stuff are more difficult, but people obviously are going to want to use a spellcaster anyway. So as a bard, and they're also spontaneous, which descriptivist said here, which is true, which makes it easier because they have a much more reduced spell list. But their composition cantrips are so good. The bonuses they give are very, very solid. And
that is interesting, because I'd also say another good caster suggestion, like my opinion of a good class to play, is Sorcerer. I think Sorcerer is actually very easy. The hardest thing you'll have to deal with is figuring out which aesthetic you want to go with. Like, which bloodline do you want to have? But once you answer that question, it's pretty easy. And then you just play Sorcerer with a fun theme. I think Sorcerer was, like, my first serious Pathfinder character, and I don't regret it for a second. I think Sorcerer's a great time.
I was also answering mostly from the player core, because that's going to be in player core.
Oh, player core. Yeah, you're right. Never mind.
Because they were asking about it earlier. I do remember they were saying that. So those are the two easiest: Martial, Caster. Rogue, I think, is another step up. They do have to worry about how their mechanic works, but I think it's a lot easier than, say, like Ranger, who can feel... You get really muddled down because of the action tax, which is Hunt Prey, which you have to do frequently to get the benefits. So... It's, those are my two recommendations for both Magic and Martial, but Rogue would be the next step up, and if I was to go Caster, I would go Cleric as the next step up. Even though they're a prepared caster, you can be a really good healer for no effort. So if you have someone who wants to play support, like, it's really easy to do a support Cleric. So
that, and just Cleric has a lot of really cool options for them.
Now, especially.
They're treated very well. And I mean, I saw it earlier. Wizard, I can see it. I think there's a lot more moving parts with Wizard. It's a definite step up from, like, other typical Wizard style stuff in games. I'll be honest. The whole, like, there's like a name for it that I always forget. The fucking, like, you have a slot, you have to fit that specific spell in said slot rather than just having a mana pool or whatever. I'm not the biggest fan of. I don't fully like it. I like spontaneous casting a lot more. I like casting like it's 5e. The whole, like, this slot is for this fireball feels really weird to me.
Yeah, I agree. Fancy and spellcasting is not my favorite. I prefer something more flexible. But there's people who like planning, and I like planning too. So, like, I've had fun with prepared casting just as much.
I can say I don't like it, but unlike some other things where I say I don't like it, I can understand why people enjoy it. I just don't agree. Yeah. I can't say the same about, like, carry weights or ammunition tracking, but, you know.
And that's one of the things, right? That's one of the great things about Pathfinder. You can play characters, just have more of your play style. What we were talking about earlier about, like, how different encounters can validate different styles of play, right? Is the thing of there's no best class, because even though Fighter potentially has the best DPR one-on-one targeting, that's not true if the target is a fiend or unholy in with the champion, because champion will be able to do a ton of extra damage back to them, or a cleric potentially even could do a ton of better damage. Rangers, yeah, also flurry rangers are nutty, and it's all, like, based on targets. It's all based on situations. As we said, we do a most damage award when we do our live plays, and we've had very consistently different characters get the award. Typically, the more damage-focused characters get it more often, true, but, like, I played as a Magus with a Fighter and a Barbarian. The Barbarian got it more often than anyone, the Fighter second, and my Magus a fair amount for third, you know? And it's just different situations. When we have our wizard in our Riptide game, if there's a bunch of enemies, which some encounters just have a bunch of enemies for variety, the wizard wins. It's not even close. It's hundreds of DPR differences in damage in combat.
If there is a horde of people, or my favorite, my beloved, if I can smell on the wind that enemy has an elemental weakness, I'm in. They're fucking gone. Other stuff, like, yeah, the fighter will get it, but I'm there making sure the fighter's doing better damage by, like, really fucking with and debuffing the enemy so they can get better damage.
Yeah, and that's another thing as well. It's like, damage is not just who does it necessarily. If an ally is providing you flanking and that got you the crit, then technically half the damage you do, or at least whatever the damage the crit offers, is technically your ally's benefits to the damage, not yours.
They deserve that credit.
Like, who's getting the credit, more or less. Bard has the best DPR, dabs per round. Well, and mischance, that's only if you are constantly running encounters. Again, this is this whole severe encounter problem with enemies who are higher level than you all the time. GMs need to make more encounters that have weaker enemies. Michael Sayer made a really good post on Twitter talking about how having weak encounters, having encounters that are not challenging at all, are necessary in tabletop, especially after a level up, because players need to learn how their abilities work and what's a safe environment. And these safe environments are also really good for players to explore and experiment with different things in the game to get to do something without fear of their character dying. So, you know.
That's... Yeah, you know what? I've never thought of it that way, because I do completely... We talked about this. We talked about this a good amount, like, just even years ago. How having, like, little shitter, low-level enemy encounters every once in a while is a nice palate cleanser to also just be like, man, my character's really cool, huh? My character's just kind of really strong. It feels nice. But also, that's just a video game thing. How many times do you get, like, a cool, like, new weapon or something in a game, and then they show, like, all right, now you get to fight these very basic enemies. It's like, yeah, you should learn how it works in a safe environment. That's normal game design.
Yeah, it's normal game design. Oh, I spelled it right the first time. So sad. I'll try finding that tweet. Someone was asking about it. But yeah,
the problem is he has so many good threads. He has so many.
They're not super duper frequent.
I keep seeing them enough where I'm just like, this dude, he's cooking again.
So, you know, I like bringing this all back around to the remaster, right? So, remaster wise, a lot of things got changed for the better. A lot of the spells were brought in more in line. There was actually a fair number of buffs. I'm currently working on the domain spells, and most of the domain spells actually that have changed anyway are getting buffs.
Ooh,
which is pretty cool.
Love to hear that.
And it, like, everything I would say is good. The problem just comes from the fact that we're like, now we get half a system when it comes to remaster versus not. So many classes not included with the remaster. People are like, yeah, errata, the champion got errata that makes it work better. Yeah, true. You know what didn't? Every other class. So, you know.
I'm glad they did it in the first place, but yeah, it doesn't erase, like, there's still stuff that we're just waiting for, so we're kind of in this little, it's kind of like a little waiting spot for this game that we all love to kind of get finished and fully prepared in the way they want it.
And you know, there's also just like many questions of like design of play and where is the game going, because I had someone who came into one of my videos and was just like, D&D is a better game because we can just say fuck it. and just break the game. We want to break the game. We don't want a balanced game. We want to find the weird thing that works and break it, and that's what I find fun. And to that, I'm like, cool story, bro.
Yeah, you've described your style of D&D. I can point to so many D&D players that are like, you know what? D&D is the best game because I can say fuck the rules and go full narrative.
Yeah.
It's like the same way, it goes both ways. You could do that with Pathfinder if you really wanted to.
And so what came with the remaster, for some people, was just they liked having to work around some of the difficulties the system had before. They liked feeling like their damage was sufficient as a caster, you know, and all kinds of things. There's a lot that goes into... I wonder, can I just search his post? Maybe I have to do that on my phone. He does post a lot.
Because like I've definitely looked for like some threads from him, and then I also had difficulty trying to find it. It's like, damn it! I know I read it. I should have like liked and saved it or something, because it was really interesting.
I probably did like it. I like a lot of things.
Yeah, I only ever use my likes as I would want to see this again composite. So.
Now this is a good point. So let me see. I can find it this way better. But follow Michael Sayer on Twitter. Very, very, very good source of info. I can't recommend it enough. James Case too. I've been liking a lot of things from Zoran the Bear recently because I've been watching a lot of Narrative Declaration.
Oh, no, I've just been liking film stuff because a lot of good film news has come out in the past few weeks. So happy the strikes are over. Fuck yeah. Strikes are over.
I should get this information on hand because I do reference this post a lot. Because it's just really good. Damn, I was hoping I didn't like this many posts.
The worst.
I'll look for like another 10 seconds. If I can't find it, I'll just have to put it off for now.
The actor strike is over, but there's significantly more protections about AI stuff. There's still cases where it can happen, but primarily it's now a thing that has to have complete consent and go through all the proper channels, because there is a biopic being made with full AI shit. Not a fan, but the actual like family, I forget what it is, what it's called when it's the like the family approving stuff post-mortem. They can fully approve it, get the money for it, good shit. The latest revision of the deal they had was when you're in a movie, we own your likeness and we don't need your consent. So it's a win. A lot of genuine wins like that happen. The estate, thank you. Yeah, there's still issues, don't get me wrong, but it's significantly better than it was, and significantly better than the proposals from studios. So it's very nice that people can go back and have much better just rights. Also, the longer that AI is kept out of film, the happier I am. I want serious roadblocks. I don't want to see an AI movie. It sounds like it'd be dog shit.
I couldn't find it. I'll have to scrub for it later though, because I do reference it a lot, and I should just like save it into a Word document or WordPad or something just to
make it a thing in your like Streamlabs to have a button that brings up the thread every time you reference it.
True. Yeah, that'd be good. That also actually reminds me, we will be getting Twitch integration stuff coming up after this week. We'll be getting some more things. More emotes on the Twitch, and we're going to be having new dono stuff. We're going to have 50 gold showing up on the channel, which is going to be super cool. And we'll also be doing some integrations for our live play stuff as well. Yeah, I do need to update that thumbnail because it's really hard to read. It says unlucky. I'm not a designer. Not a good one anyway. So if you are at all like you want to join us on Twitch for all the fun stuff we're gonna be having, I do recommend following on Twitch. I know some people just prefer YouTube, and that's completely okay. The only bad thing is YouTube just doesn't have as many fun tools. So, you know, when that updates, I'll be more than happy to add some more YouTube stuff as well. But yeah, we're also affiliates on Twitch now, so we'll
So
be asking
cool.
for Prime subs and all that kind of stuff.
It's so cool they changed that rule. I'm very happy.
It was the smart choice. It
was
makes
really
more
smart.
people check out Twitch in the end. But yeah, so, you know, in general, right, the remaster is a good thing, but it's messy, and there's a lot to argue whether you could have been done in a better way. And there's a lot of talk. I've seen people make very valid claims that like the OGL was pretty much non-breachable anyway, no matter what Wizards was trying to do, and they didn't need to like get this going as hard as they did, which I think is a fair comment to make. But in the end of the day, the remaster is something that I feel is a net positive because it also brings interest to Pathfinder. People are like, man, I'm thinking about trying another game. Hey, you hear Pathfinder's getting a new remaster soon? And it's just like, oh yeah, I've heard about Pathfinder before, and they're getting a new remaster. Yeah, maybe I'll jump in at the remaster. You know, it's that one little thing that can help push people over the edge of choosing whether a new system's coming out, because they're like, oh, let me join in on the thing that is being released. You know, it creates FOMO, but not in a super scummy way.
Yeah, it's like when you hear a cool game is getting a remaster, you're like, oh, I've been meaning to play that game. Oh, hell yeah, I get to play an updated version. It's a good decision to call it that. And also, like, yeah, that like the idea of they were safe with the OGL, but then like the difference is like, yeah, they might not be like declared in breach of the OGL license, but that's not the concern. The concern is going to court in the first place and having to spend all that money against Hasbro lawyers. Have a
Well, that's
lot
not
more money to throw around, right?
that is arguable, because it could have just been something that couldn't have been like the case could have just been thrown out before it even started.
It could have, but it also could have not, kind of deal. It's just better to be safe than it is not to be.
And I generally agree with that statement. And I think this is also just a big shift for Paizo in the sense of kind of getting further away from where they started and kind of differentiating themselves to their own thing.
Yeah, I think when I'm saying this, like, I think it probably my little headcanon for Paizo started out as a legal thing. All right, legal's making a list. These are all the names we need to change, and then it turns more into we have a chance to separate ourselves into. James said it earlier. Like, now you can recommend Pathfinder as it's kind of like D&D but like extra. You can now be like, it's more of its own thing. It's its own game with its own like relative identity, and they're shaping it into what they want it to be.
The thing is,
I like
D&D is synonymous with tabletop. That's a conversation we've already had.
Yeah, it's the same thing as like your older family being like, you're on your Nintendo and you're playing an Xbox 360. So yeah, I am my Nintendo.
So, it's the remaster, again, like I said, I think is a net positive. It creates an event that people can gather around. And I mean, like, I know that there was an increase in interest. How do I know? Because my channel got bigger and more people were checking the content out. Like,
yeah, that is the big tell.
I just have I have data points. I have data points I can point to and be like, there's evidence that people were interested in this. And so, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. It just does feel messy and disruptive. And, no one could say for sure if there was a better way or not, right? Because it can't be done in any way other than the way it was done. There's no going back and redoing and trying again. So this was the choice they made, and they're doing it in good faith. anyone who's ever spoken to any Paizo staff ever, seen any of their tweets ever, knows Paizo's not trying to like screw people over or ring people for money or all kinds of stuff like that, especially because all the rules can be found free on Archive of Nethys. Granted, Archive of Nethys is waiting a week or two to get their stuff up, mostly because they just have a lot of data input, but like it's going to be free, you know.
It's, yeah, you can access it all for free, which also, God, fucking reminding me of the one comment you had that lives in my head rent free of Paizo's just doing this to make money and sell books, and it's like, yes, that's what a tabletop company does, but also like if they felt like that, they wouldn't be releasing it for free on Archive of Nethys.
Well, and the thing is, right, the staff of Paizo are so accessible.
I wanna, when you know, this channel's getting bigger and we can go to like the Paizo convention shit, I need to go with you. Because like you talking about meeting the Paizo devs, they sound like so cool.
Unfortunately,
I just want to chat.
It's going to be a while before they do an in-person, if they do in-person ever again.
I hope. It's a big money sink, and it's just, you know, there's very good reasons to host some virtual conventions, but doing it in person, it just hits different.
Come to PAX U. PAX is at Unplugged. Are they going to be there too?
Oh shit. PAX, let's see.
Publicon.
Where's that one
there's
sourced?
Definitely in the future, I'll be trying to do more stuff like this.
Philadelphia, I can't go there. That's really far and expensive. I don't got that money.
Ah, I see. Yeah, in the future, you know, we'll probably be doing more stuff. I have a lot of faith that the channel is going to keep growing, especially now after the remaster. We did really well. A lot of people discovered the channel who were like, man, I've never seen this channel before. And a lot of people are very supportive of the content. And the best part is that is going to be, that's going to keep happening because we're going to have the Qianxia book coming out, which I'm actually super excited for that book.
It sounds awesome.
We're going to be having Monster Core, which I will be doing a small segment on that on the new Dragon stuff, because I think that's going to be pretty fun. There's also Player Core 2 coming out next year, and then we have the War of Immortals coming out next year. Next year's going to be really, really busy, so my goal is definitely to get the channel over the 10K mark sometime next year. That's once I hit 10K, the channel will have a lot more opportunities, I feel like. And so with that in mind, we'll probably have more chats. Also, we'll probably get like Michael Sayer on here at some point, or James Case, or someone. I'd love to talk to them on Table Talk. If you guys don't know, we do host guests on Table Talk. You can actually find them in the live tab on YouTube. People we talked to. I talked to Mark Seifter, who damn near wrote the game in the initial, initial edition of it, and some other wonderful people in the community. Someone who's even in this chat here today, who's releasing some very cool mech stuff for, Pathfinder as third-party content. So
true. I really, really want you to have some higher director at Paizo to come on. I legitimately, I talked about it last, like a previous Table Talk. No joke. I am making a list of questions for Paizo. I have a list. I will get these questions answered. The important, the people want to know. It's the one I came up with on Table Talk. Why is Paizo too scared to make siege weapons count as normal weapons?
I mean, the Paizo, like I said, the Paizo staff are super accessible, but I appreciate it, James. It's mostly just time. Right now, time is the biggest commodity that I have so little of. But I do plan on doing some more stuff in the near future.
A release schedule. This is why I like following Pathfinder so much. It's so cool following a game that gets like regular updates like this, where we can just have like, oh, this is coming this month, this is coming this month. We have like a year set out. That's so cool.
Also, Starfinder 2 playtest starts next summer.
Ooh. Oh yeah, I can't wait. I want to read that.
That's gonna
so
be really
bad.
cool. I've been trying. I emailed Thurston Hillman, uh, for trying to get an interview about the Starfinder stuff that he does. Didn't get anything, unfortunately. So I tried. Maybe I'll just message him directly on Twitch, but he said to contact him through email on his bio. So I don't know. I also don't like to bother people. Uh, but that would be really cool. I mean, like, I'd love to talk to Zoran the Bear
Oh, Sam. Big fan of
about
him.
his PF2 content, and maybe the guys from Knights of Last Call too at some point. I also need to look into Glass Cannon. Might take a bit. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I did it through email, so we'll see. If it works, it works. If not, who knows? But I did try at the very least. I've heard he's a pretty cool guy, yeah. So, you know, like Paizo and this channel especially, we got a lot coming. Also, just tabletop stuff in general. I'm doing the Candela Obscura stuff that Critical Role recently released, and I'm also going to be looking into Daggerheart when that comes out. We're still going to be doing Lancer content. I might dip my toe into Vampire. We'll see how I feel about it. Vampire is just a game that I feel like is not necessarily as conducive to my style and more of like a lore channel. And I just don't have the time to read a bunch of lore on something.
Speaking of, and also it's actually very interesting. Which actually, yeah, because like I don't see how you could do super good. Like, here's how to play such and such clan. Like, you kind of just the clan is a framework to make your character around.
Yeah.
You just have some like it kind of just determines what disciplines are easy for you. Like, I'm actually adore the tabletop. The more and more I read it, like VTM is one of the few systems. I've actually been reading the 20th anniversary as well of where me reading through a rule book, it's like clicking. Like, I get what's happening. I get what they're saying. It's like that's very rare for me to digest tabletop rules like by reading the core book. Yeah, it's more of a lore channel thing. Speaking of, Monday I'm gonna drop a vampire lore video. That's gonna be fun. I plan to do VTM lore because World of Darkness lore is fucking awesome.
It is pretty crazy.
It's so fun. I adore just dropping out of context and lore bits. And also, you know what? I also just like real world settings. I like when my home turf is represented. And the fact that Seattle is both represented in Bloodlines 2. I like that there's lore, but the Bloodline 2 trailers make me sad inside. I'm not looking forward to it that much. And the fact that one of the main villains of Mage the Ascension have a main headquarters in Seattle. I like that. I respect that.
Yeah, and I mean, definitely, I might still do that because, you know, you never know what part of my audience might not have ever heard it and want to get into it. Excited to hear your thoughts on Candela. Yeah, I'm very stoked to get into Candela. I have the PDF. I will be looking into it soon. So
we'll have to talk about it on our own time. I'm very curious what the game's like.
Yeah, and if that content does well, we might do a table talk. We'll see.
Oh yeah.
But you know, yeah, I think we pretty much said it. Oh, you know what? Actually, talking about Blades in the Dark, or not Blades in the Dark, Vampire. Did you hear about the recent controversy that came up around a Vampire?
No.
So, World of Darkness, you know, the general people who make all those games,
yeah, the White Wolf
came out with a clip of a section about bleeding, which is
I think I saw this, but I did not read that much into it.
Yeah, bleeding, which is like a practice of blurring the line between you and your character more to learn to feel the emotions of your character and yada yada yada. And it became this huge thing because a bunch of people got super upset talking about, you know, like more or less just assuming the idea of bleeding, which is just people who are getting too real with their characters, you know?
Oh, okay. I'm glad to hear that I read it in just amount because I read that initial thing and my first thought was, I do that, and then I strolled away because I'm full method act when I influence my character's actions by how I feel in the moment of being immersed. I method act my characters really hard. So it was a lot of why are they getting upset? That's my thing. And then I kept scrolling.
Yeah. Don't chew on the wires, you little gremlin.
Oh no.
This is Bean.
I forgot the kitten
chewing
thing
on
of
the
chewing wires. I'm blessed that my cat doesn't try to do that anymore.
But yeah.
Also, can I say how fucking funny it is that of all things for people get pissed off for in a vampire like setting getting dropped, it's called bleeding.
Yeah, well, apparently it's a big roleplay thing. It's again, like, tabletop is a big space when you start digging. There's some rabbit holes you can go into, and there's like a hardcore RP place of TTRPGs, and like, I didn't know it was just a huge thing, but apparently it's a pretty massive area, and it's like, it starts integrating, because the vampire also just has it's more of like a LARP thing, because like vampire has a lot stronger of a LARP connection, so that's kind of why it got brought up.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I remember. I'm glad I read as much into that because it's very much another situation of why are people getting upset? This is not really that big of a deal. Or to me, it sounded like a lot of you're inventing a guy to get upset about.
Yeah, right. Where'd you hear that line? You started using that. You invented a guy.
It's like it's a big Twitter thing. It's I see it a lot with people like crying about like, well, if this thing happens, then someone will do this, and it's a lot of it's like a conservative arguing tactic for those terminally online people. And then I see it a lot, and it's just like conservatives always just invent a guy to get mad at and then cry about it.
I mean,
it's just a thing. It's a thing in any circle. Just
yeah, I just wonder where you like if there was some specific source you heard the term from or not.
I keep seeing it online, but
so,
it's that
yeah.
one. But it's also it is just that it's a very common thing where it's people who they take something in that like bad faith or it goes against what they're thinking, so they immediately hop to the worst interpretation they can, to the point where it's like you just made that up. What are you talking about? Most people aren't gonna do it like that. And if somebody does be weird about it, you just tell them to cut it out. It's not required to them to change a thing. Just if you come across a problem player using, like your example, using a spell weird, tell them to leave your table. Because they shouldn't be doing that. It's not on Paizo to get rid of something, or even like White Wolf.
I mean, so Neris, to let you know, we don't stay on topic on this channel.
No, we don't. We kind of just ramble. And also me, because I do that a lot.
Pretty sure I've talked to everything about the remaster that really is relevant.
Yeah, because that's, you know what? I'm happy. You know, I missed these 2 remaster episodes of Table Talk, and I got to come on in my last bit of remaster's pretty cool. I don't know what y'all are talking about with the negative. This, like, just don't be upset, I guess.
Well,
my stance on stuff.
There are negatives. There are problems that are caused.
There are negatives for anything that like pop up.
And like the important thing is to remember is in all things social, we have to remember to try to empathize first. You know, like it's really easy to start brushing people off, but that creates animosity where there shouldn't be animosity. You know, be like Torfin. Have no enemies.
I haven't seen past episode 1, so I can't do it yet. I'm also sad to say that because I need to see it. It's very. I just haven't had other stuff on my docket. That's on me.
Yeah, comparisons. Like there's all kinds of fair talk about a variety. The vampire thing I only brought up just because I saw the controversy recently. It was an interesting thing to talk about because it's just something that like. I read, I'm like, why is this a problem?
It's really funny when, like, reading about that and then our fucking group, or how many times have you reduced us to tears? You in particular. because we like are in our character so hard, in the fact that we all like take them very seriously, and we play them like people.
Yeah, and I'm not afraid to hurt you.
No, he's not. There was the moment where it was after a bit where we're like, hey Cam, can this campaign be a little happier? Please. We like a good depressing campaign, but oh my god, man.
I like having very intense stories, what can I say?
It is great, but it is a time.
But you know, it's like in the end, the remaster. Yeah, my only complaint is the days. Yeah, days.
Oh,
man,
that one is fair.
Steaming,
you know what?
Steaming.
I retract my previous statement. Days should be actually useful.
Yeah.
Especially with that flavor text where it builds up the fucking hope that like, oh my god, is Days good? No.
Yeah, Arcade Cascade. I that was also an error.
Wait, wasn't that?
Errata. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny though. Wait, that's like you could just flavor that like the Mortal Kombat fatality if you make an arcade box fall out of the sky.
Yeah, no, we're doing skins in Pathfinder now. We had the arcade Magus skin.
You got to pay the DM like $1.99 for a skin.
Yep. So, you know, like, if anyone has anything to talk about the remaster that they want to bring up, I'm more than happy to entertain it, as long as it's done in good faith. What do you want to spend 2 actions on the off chance they get a crit fail? Oh, what? You don't want to spend 2 actions on the off chance they get... Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because, like, isn't it... I'm going to have to look it up. The exact effects of Days. Because it is that. Like, it only really does something of note if they crit fail. Like, a basic check? Or a basic save?
Yeah. Well, basic just means, like, it doubles damage if they crit fail and all that, but, you know.
Yeah.
I'm going to make Days just off guard on a enemy kill save. I just feel like that's only fair.
Yeah, I remember so many times where I've looked at Days show up on my possible spells to pick, and then I read it and I'm like, nope, still bad, and I scroll past.
You know what? Disarm now is so good. Disarm essentially becoming like a slightly weaker Sickens in a way.
Huh.
Because so Disarm now, when you succeed a disarm check, it does the same thing where like their grip gets a little loose, you know? People are unhappy about that. But now the -2 to attacks that they had before is permanent until they spend an action to readjust their grip.
Oh. Okay. Nice. That is very cool.
So Disarm feels a lot better now, and it's not the cheesy I keep knocking the boss's weapon out of their grip level of strength that it has been in other games.
Yeah, I like that a lot, actually, because, like, I remember when I was making Adrian, or my Magus, I was trying to work around, like, I want to do some status effect often. I went with, like, Trip, but, you know, it's kind of fun to be working around a thing like that. Give marshals ways to, I guess, set up other characters in the combat. I like that. I would totally play it like a disarming duelist character. That sounds super cool.
Yeah, it feels way better now. And I mean, to be fair, like, I understand where everyone's coming from. Like, it was a will-based cantrip, yada, 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 yada. It's not that it doesn't have some good qualities. It's just, it feels like it scales way worse than any other cantrip. It could have the same scaling as any other cantrip, and it would not even come close to breaking the game. If anything, that just comes to it working better with how the game is designed.
I can see that it has benefits, but it doesn't take away the fact that I could use a different cantrip and feel just like I did more. There's just stuff. I don't know. It has some issues, and there's just better cantrips that I could use. My cantrip supplies is limited.
But yeah, so I mean, just like again, remastered a lot of things. I love the new disarm. Reposition was essentially something I was already doing, but now it's an official rule, which is really cool.
Love when that
Swapping
happens.
weapons with a singular action is now really cool.
Hell yeah. I'm always of the opinion that swapping your weapons in a combat should be easy and not super intensive. Because I just think the idea of playing around weapons and like having multiple damage types, even as a martial, is just a cool concept that a lot of things kind of fuck over because they're like, yeah, changing your weapon requires your entire turn, and that's lame.
Or it requires you to drop a weapon and then use an action to
Yeah.
grab a weapon.
Ugh.
And then
Just
it's
like-
just like, well, if you want to use the other weapon, now you have to go stride back to where it was, pick it up, drop the other weapon in the same space.
Yeah, God,
Sounds
it's ridiculous.
super tedious.
Because like I don't know, everyone's played those games where you have a character like that you're playing that you're like switching between like 5 different weapons. It's super cool. It's awesome. Like stance change and weapon change is like super fun. So having more like that is just it feels nice.
I swear that even in pre-remaster, there's some decent occult. And I mean, to be fair, like, your summoner, you're better off just using a lot of your actions with your idling.
Yeah, why are you? I don't know. Is that with like using days with a summoner? What's?
Because we now have needle darts, which is really good. Phase bolt, which is an attack spell. They're both attack spells.
Phase bolt is actually good.
Chill touch is actually getting changed to something else.
Oh shit!
I don't remember what it was. I have the notes.
I do like chill touch. So I guess it's because no wait, that did something to undead, didn't it?
Yeah.
With chill touch, so I guess makes sense.
But you know what? I'll give it to you. There aren't just a lot of really cool save basic cantrips, which kind of does feel a little bad. Void Warp. Yes, Void Warp is really good. I think that is the new one.
I don't know what that does, but that sounds cool.
Just does void damage now.
Cool.
But yeah, like I said, if anyone has anything to talk about the remaster, I'm more here for it. Otherwise, we can just chat about whatever, honestly. I'm glad for all you who've been showing up. You know, James, Dead Phoenix, Big Shatters, Bilbo Swaggins here, coming in with lots of chats. Niruk Darog, I know you've been showing up a lot lately too. Same with you, Klaus Kelly. And Matt Rock, and oh yeah, new Matt Rock, because you just subbed to the channel today, finally. Matt Writings for coming check out for Pathfinder 2nd Edition, you know? I'm just doing this now because I'll never, like, once the channel gets big enough where I have like 100+ people, I'm never going to be able to keep track of people's names.
It's so hard. I can't imagine keeping track, like responding to a super active chat. It's really hard. I don't have the attention span for it.
Yeah. But you know what, Bilbo, like, I agree. There should be some more save-based cantrips for just that purpose. Yeah. Having just some little extra damage in your round. So, I agree. They will probably be adding some stuff in the new War of Immortals book coming out.
I'm so pumped for that book.
Divine Mysteries.
The Exemplar is so cool.
Exemplar is really, really cool. So, you know, we're also going to be doing a lot of stuff. It's kind of nice. I feel like I now have a like, there was a big slow period, though, right? Like, Pathfinder was kind of at a very slow period right before the release of the remaster. And then we got our resurgence. And over the course of the holiday season, it'll slowly die down again. And then by the time March comes around, we'll have a not a big boost, but the Qianxia stuff is coming out, which I think will be really cool. Monster Core will probably see a decent boost as well the month after. So we're gonna have a nice wave of content over the course of the year, which is good because during those slow periods I can talk about other TTRPGs. Oh, it's 4 a.m. there, Bilbo. Rough.
Oof.
So y'all want to know something crazy? Over the course of the remaster, I was doing a video every day, and the videos took 6 hours on average to produce, more or less, because I learned as I progressively made each video that I have to read every single word because there's some things I missed because it was a one-word change. Like Rogue's gang up now works for the rogue and for the person they're flanking with for gang up, which is really, really good. A very
That's
powerful
pretty sick.
boost. If you don't know, gang up allows the rogue to flank with an ally even if they're not directly across from the creature.
Yeah, and the ally gets a boost.
Now the ally gets
really cool.
off guard from it as well.
That's a fun change. I like that. That's a very like cooperative maneuver. As it like kind of should have been. That's a fun change.
That's really good. I mean, you know, Niruk, I think that's a good idea, but I think the hard part about a book about creating spells specifically is they just have so much stuff they're releasing like in addition that it would have been maybe Secrets of Magic they would have done that stuff, but they also, to be fair, like spells have a specific algorithm they follow to meet the game's like general balance quota, you know, and I think that's a little bit hard to express in a way that people can easily utilize. I swear I've heard this idea for Summoner before. The Poppet who uses the Devotion Phantom.
I wonder what game we might have heard that. Maybe like a separate system that is fantastic and everyone in the chat should go play immediately.
Anima?
Maybe something called Anima Beyond Fantasy?
What, how did that happen in Anima?
Poppets. There's the Poppet thing with you got your little puppet guy. It's one of the Ars Magnas. Or no, the Extraordinary Weapons.
Well, it is an Ars Magus, I guess.
Oh yeah.
But no, you're thinking of the guy who turned his family into puppets.
That dude is also weird.
Puppets are a small little doll.
Yeah, they're both the same. They're both creepy and you know, little puppet things. What is a doll but a puppet that doesn't have strings yet? Makes you think, don't it?
No. Not at all. Dolls aren't necessarily meant to like articulate, but actuate, move.
That's just what they want you to think.
Basically, the only downside to Finland is that most of the content I like is not in my time zone. Yeah, my sister lives kind of close. My sister lives in Norway, so I get that. I have to work on the close to the same time when chatting with my sister, so I get it. We go to Norway like every other year, so I've been there before for sure. But yeah, I don't know. Like I'm glad you could be here for the remaster stuff at the end, Alex. Probably won't talk about it again next week, if I was to hazard a guess.
Yeah.
Unless some controversy comes up.
Unless I'm happy to chat about it because I think it's a cool time for Pathfinder. There's gonna be some struggles, like some hills to climb for it, but on the other hand, we have just a lot of stuff where we can all point to and be like, oh, this change is so fun. Oh, I could see myself taking this now. Oh, I'm really excited to like sit down and play a character that can do this thing now. Like, it's really nice. It's nice to see.
You know what's funny too is after doing the remaster stuff, there's a lot of times I saw something that didn't change, but it just made me aware of its presence. Like there's a domain spell that just lets you flex as a reaction to mitigate damage.
That is very cool.
It's like Enduring Might or something like that. It's
Muscle Wizard.
just muscle. It's technically cleric, but yeah, muscle cleric. You just, as a reaction, you just use your hard muscles, and you spend a focus point, obviously, and you gain an amount of resistance to all damage from the triggering attack.
That's really fun.
I was just like, man, this is a whole character idea in one focus spell. Super funny.
Yeah, just like you could just make a character that is like a bodybuilder cleric and just be like, my abs are divine, and you just fully flex.
It just flex, your shirt rips off, and it's just like, oh.
And then literally it's just like you could have that fun interaction of like your god is your personal trainer. That's that'd be a fun character.
Hilarious character. I want to make the Chad War Priests. The Chad War Priest is just a completely Chadified character. Make him a halfling too because it's funnier. And he's just the god. He's just like, I pray to the god of getting ripped, and he's just a war priest. He does a lot of the super physical actions. There's like Athletic Rush that gives you a boost to your speed, and as a part of casting, it lets you use like a physical action in addition to it, and can just flex and negate damage.
Oh man, now you're getting me thinking. It's like, just if I'm making a campaign character, because that character, real fun, like concept. What if you do make a cleric that is like worship some form of god of physicality? You express worship through bodily perfection.
I mean, that's kind of Aurori.
Yeah.
To be fair, we were talking about Aurori before, where Aurori is like one of the few gods that fought 1,000 gods or whatever to get godhood, essentially.
Absolutely based.
But yeah, like that's one of the fun side effects of the remaster, is literally just reading through everything and being like, man, there's just so many things in this game I don't immediately have like in stock to be like, that'd be a cool character idea. So many interesting character ideas came from doing the remaster stuff.
Which, that should be the effect of reading through a rulebook. You should, like, as you're reading a tabletop book, have those thoughts of, oh, there's a character idea. Oh, I could use that. That's cool. Also, just, yeah, the unintended effect of just having to read everything.
Yeah, it's Enduring Might. So it's the advanced cantrip from the Might domain, and it says your own might mingles with divine power to protect you. That's all it says. But I just like the idea of your character flex. Plus, the amount of damage mitigation is based on your strength modifier, even in the remaster. So you gain resistance equal to 8 plus your strength modifier against all damage from the triggering attack.
That's really cool.
And it heightens by 2 damage every level spell now.
Yeah, depending on what happens for the fucking I guess the next game after Riptide. Maybe I'll use that for a cleric. I kind of think a god, like a cleric of physicality sounds really fun. Like playing a might cleric, and is very much in the like, we need to achieve just, I guess, harmony with our own bodies. That'd be very cool.
Bilbo's Wagons, though, wrong. It's not 2 attributes because you can get intimidating prowess, and then you can use your strength modifier instead. Your strength does need to be 20 or higher.
That'll be a bit of a wait then.
At minimum to level 10.
Yeah.
But
still, like,
it's
that
pretty
is
much the same idea.
Honestly, even if like it wasn't just named by you, I would be like, I feel like there has to be a feat that makes intimidation tied to strength, right? There has to be. Because I mean, there's like all the other ways of intimidation, but getting around certain roadblocks.
And the crazy thing is, this existed in the game before the remaster. Like,
yeah.
I just I found it because the remaster, because I just had to read everything. You got +5, correct. I was reading it from the Archive of Nethys, which is not updated yet, but yeah. You need a +4 strength to get it, and then a +5 and Master Intimidation to use your strength instead.
Hell yeah.
Oh! Interesting. Did they keep that? I actually, this would be hilarious because you could technically throw this on a barbarian, I think. Because it only requires a somatic component, which is manipulate. It doesn't have the concentrate tag, which means you could do this while raging.
Oh boy. Oh god. That's terrifying, actually.
So you could have a barbarian that dips into cleric.
Stuff like that where I learn, oh, by the way, this combos with Barbarian Rage usually makes me worried. Because it's like, oh boy, that's terrifying. With how much stuff has the concentrate like trait just so barbarians can't abuse it.
Yeah, it's just manipulate even in this. So yeah. There you go. Ow.
True, it is going a lot more monk. I think you can make a well, it depends. I think you can make a really fun unarmed monk with a little bit of fiddling. My I am my deity's chosen weapon.
I do think, regardless, it's a fun one. Oi, what you doing? But yeah, it's like the remaster has been so good for like the channel growth has been insane. I'm so happy for all the people who showed up here. I mean, this whole chat we've had over 20 people most of the time, which is pretty good, honestly. We were getting the upper 20s at one point too. So, I mean, like, hopefully this means that the channel in general will see a general increase in productivity from what it was before. You know, more daily subs, more daily views than it was before, and then hopefully we can use that to grow the channel bigger. I do have a bunch of community stuff planned for the near future. We're gonna have a Lancer build tournament where people are gonna make Lancer builds, and the community is gonna vote on which one beats which one. We're gonna have
I'm excited for that.
8-person tournament. So that's gonna be really, really cool. My mods have been planning to have like a movie night or stuff in the channel. So if you're not on the official Discord, then I would definitely check it out, linked in the description or below on Twitch.
Yeah. I can go into detail as someone who's planning that a little.
Yeah. One of the two mods.
I'm one of the. I was there in the planning discussion. Primarily, there is an attempt that we're making. Me especially when I have the time. I'm sadly just busy a good chunk of the time, of having both movie nights, be they like a community voted thing. I myself have already and can already very easily make a curated list of fun movies for like a server full of people. As the resident film guy, I know what movies are fun to watch with other people, and some movies are really uncomfortable if you watch them in a group. Other than that, figuring out a way of like picking those, and tabletop simulator stuff where we all just have board game nights and stuff. A real hope that we've always had with this channel is that it can be used for people to just like play games. Even maybe like down the line, a little hub for people who are actively playing tabletop. Maybe they're playing Pathfinder in a channel, that kind of deal. So getting the community together to just have fun, hang out, enjoy the everyone in the community. So we're working to get that done. If anyone has any suggestions of what they think some fun community night stuffs could be, yeah, join the Discord and let us know.
And, you know, I do have a lot more fun stuff planned. We're going to add, obviously, some more Twitch integration stuff. There's just a lot, you know. I'm happy to do it. I'm very happy to be getting back to a video production that scale. That's going to be a little slower. Also probably be releasing weekly... Good job, cats. I'll also be probably releasing a weekly build on the channel. Maybe not next week. I might take a break from these higher production videos for like a week. Maybe. I might do something else.
It would be deserved. It's very fair.
And yeah, I'll be bringing more content as Pathfinder is releasing content. So I don't know. I don't really got too much else to talk about for this table talk. I think we did most of the remaster stuff. D&D movie with Jeremy Irons. Is that the one?
You mean like the old one?
Oh yeah.
The old one that is notoriously shit. I do need to see it as a connoisseur of horrible movies.
I mean, we'll do some fun stuff, and you know, I do want to do more tabletop related, like fun videos and everything like that. Make some tabletop MV content. More stuff's coming down the pipeline. The channel's gonna be uploading even more regularly than it was before, and you know, I'm looking to improve the quality of content on the channel. It's just a good time to be on the channel. I think we're right at the base of when we're gonna start really kicking off, moving forward. Which build, since it's probably the most in demand? Yeah, actually. I don't even think I have a witch build currently, and I think I was waiting for the remaster to do one since I started doing them again. So I probably will do a witch build. You know what? I think I might do my my Cultist of the Pale Eye build for witch, because there's this new familiar that you can ability, I should say, that you can get access to for the darkness. Well, what's the new one called? The was darkness, now it is I scrolled past it. Cats are also fighting on my desk. Oh, not fighting, play fighting.
Good that they're getting along now.
Yeah, mostly. It's mostly Bean wanting to play and Celeste not really wanting to. Starless Shadow, but the Pale Eye. So one of the things that the familiar does is when you cast or sustain a hex and your familiar is adjacent to an enemy, when it's concealed, hidden, or undetected, the enemy becomes frightened 1. And so the concept is you have your enemies feel this eerie sensation like something is watching them during the combat, which fills them with dread. It's also a summoner build, because Witch is one of the only classes that can summon 2 creatures at level 1.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Which at level 1 is actually remarkably strong. So it's a very intensive on your spell slots, admittedly, but it's very powerful when you go into it. But the whole build is, it's a summoner build. It uses a lot of dark, creepy stuff, and it has a very strong aesthetic around fear and shadowy creatures.
Yeah, that'd be a good video to drop, especially with just good timing, since Witch is in hot demand. Yep. Genuinely surprised. I would have put money on the Wizard video doing better, because I thought more people were looking deeper into Wizard from all the shit I kept hearing.
Wizard did a little better at the beginning, but I feel like in the end, The problem is Wizard didn't change all that much.
Yeah, exactly. Like Witch actually got like a rework. Wizard got like an alteration.
Yeah. So, it does make sense. But that is going to be it for today. Anything you want to leave us off with, sir, before we end for the evening?
Yeah, if you are into Warhammer 40k, I do 40k content over in my channel's Glue Boy on YouTube. It's linked in Cam's thing, or you can just look up Glue Boy. I largely do 40k content with occasional other bits. That occasional other bit now becoming more regular, so I plan to cover World of Darkness stuff. So if you're interested in hearing kind of a funnier look at World of Darkness, I'm not as much in the creepy reading genre of Lord content, not my vibe. I'm going to be delving into a lot of World of Darkness stuff because I think all the settings are really cool. So check those out, subscribe, stay tuned. I have a video coming out Monday.
Yeah, we gotta get you back. Gotta get you back in working order after your extended stay off of YouTube.
Yeah, I'm also hoping that like if I put this up, it'll juice some additional numbers. Cause God, some of maybe it's on me. I did Ultramarines, which aren't in hot demand.
Yeah,
but yeah,
I
the
did
break
listen
is
to those videos. They were actually very interesting. So
yeah, it's a lot of me playing defense for even something I admittedly don't fully like. But I think people are being annoying about it, and they deserve to like understand. I guess I don't know. I had some things to say.
But yeah, that's gonna be it for us. Thank you all so much for watching, and I guess I'll be seeing you all tomorrow. Good night.
Night.